The sun was blazing high over Brookridge City, sending golden rays cascading down the streets. It was one of those rare days when the sky was so impossibly blue that you couldn't help but feel a little lighter walking under it. Cars moved steadily along Main Street, horns honking occasionally, mingling with the chatter of pedestrians and the rhythmic clatter of shoes on the pavement. Inside a small provision shop tucked between a pharmacy and an old laundromat, a young man named Malik Thompson stood patiently by the counter. He had just finished visiting his best friend, Brandon, who lived a few blocks away, and decided to grab something to drink before heading home. The shop was cozy. The scent of freshly baked bread mixed with the warm spices from neatly stacked jars on the shelves, creating an inviting, almost nostalgic atmosphere. From behind the counter, an old radio softly played classic Arva B tunes, the music crackling slightly from its age, but still soulful. "Here you go, son," the shopkeeper, Mr. Alvin Reyes, said kindly as he handed Malik his change. His weathered hand brushed lightly against Malik's as he passed the coins. Malik smiled politely in return, grateful for the man's easy warmth. He was about to pocket the coins when suddenly, the door to the shop burst open with a bang. Two uniformed police officers stormed in, their boots thudding heavily on the tiled floor with the kind of finality that made everyone freeze. Officer Grayson Cole and Officer Victor Langley were well-known faces around this neighborhood. But it wasn't their faces that people remembered, it was their reputation. Their presence shifted the energy in the room instantly. Conversations halted. A young woman browsing the cereal aisle clutched her shopping basket tighter. Even Mr. Reyes stiffened behind the counter. Cole's eyes swept across the small space before they locked on Malik. "Hey, you," Officer Cole barked, his voice sharp and cutting through the thickening silence. "Stop right there." Malik blinked, confused. He pointed at himself instinctively. "Me? Yeah, you." Officer Langley snapped. "Hand where I can see them. Now." For a moment, Malik stood frozen. His pulse quickened. What was happening? His fingers instinctively tightened around the plastic bottle of juice still in his hand. "What did I do?" Malik asked carefully, his voice trying to stay steady even as his heartbeat raced wildly in his chest. "We got a report of an armed robbery," Cole said as he stalked toward him, his gaze cold and unflinching. "Suspect matches your description. Seen in this area." "Armed robbery?" Malik repeated, shaking his head in disbelief. I just bought a drink. I live on Walnut Street. I didn't do anything." "You got ID?" Langley demanded, his hand already resting on the butt of his holstered sidearm. His tone was flat, unreadable. Malik nodded slowly. "Yeah, it's in my pocket," he said, deliberately moving his hand toward his back pocket to retrieve his wallet. But as soon as he made the motion, Cole lunged forward. Roughly, Officer Cole grabbed Malik's arm and spun him around, shoving him hard against the counter. The force of it knocked over a nearby rack of potato chips, sending colorful bags tumbling to the ground. "Whoa, what are you doing?" Malik protested, struggling against the grip that was already forcing his arms behind his back. "Stay still," Cole growled, his voice low and dangerous. He slapped cold metal handcuffs around Malik's wrists with a practice snap. "You're resisting arrest," Langley added sharply, even though Malik had barely moved. By now, people had gathered near the entrance of the store. Some had their phones out, recording what was happening. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the growing crowd. "He's a good kid. He didn't do anything." "Mr. Reyes exclaimed, stepping forward from behind the counter, his face tight with anger and worry. "This is wrong. Let him go," another customer shouted, her voice shaking but loud. "He didn't do anything." The officers ignored them. Malik's breathing became shallow. He was trying to stay calm, but his hands trembled, less from fear and more from the sudden, suffocating weight of injustice. His heart pounded violently in his chest. His eyes scanned the room quickly, seeing both fear and outrage reflected in the faces of those watching. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was bigger, and soon he realized the world was going to know. Malik sat stiffly in the back seat of the police cruiser, his hands cuffed tightly behind him. The metal bit cruelly into his wrists, leaving behind thin red lines. He kept his head high, though, refusing to bow under the weight of the moment. His gaze was focused and clear, even as his fingers trembled slightly. "What's your full name?" Langley asked from the front seat, scribbling in his notepad as if he was simply filling out a routine report. Malik exhaled slowly. "Malik Thompson." Cole snorted derisively. "Thompson? Any relation to Judge Teresa Thompson?" Malik's jaw tightened. "She's my mother." A thick silence settled over the car. Langley's pen paused in midair. Cole and Langley exchanged glances, suddenly less sure of themselves. Judge Teresa Thompson was famous across the state for her unyielding stance against racial injustice and her sharp rebukes of law enforcement misconduct. If Malik was telling the truth, they were in serious trouble. Langley chuckled awkwardly, trying to dismiss the weight of it. "Nice try, kid. Name-dropping a judge won't get you out of this." Malik met Langley's gaze in the rearview mirror. His voice was calm, almost eerily so. "I don't have to name-drop. You can call her." Langley hesitated, then reached for his radio. "Dispatch," he said, his voice more strained than before. "Can you verify if a Malik Thompson is related to Judge Teresa Thompson?" There was a long pause. Malik kept his breathing steady, but his heart pounded so hard he was sure they could hear it. Finally, a voice crackled over the radio. "Confirmed. Malik Thompson is Judge Thompson's son. Recommend immediate release." Cole's face turned pale. "Oh, hell," he muttered under his breath. "What do we do?" Langley whispered sharply. Before Cole could answer, the radio squawked again. "Be advised, Judge Thompson is en route to the station. And she's not happy." The police station was eerily quiet when Judge Teresa Thompson arrived. She walked through the doors like a storm about to break, her sharp heels clicking against the polished floors with each decisive step. Officers scrambled out of her way, none wanting to be the one to meet her fury head-on. "Where is my son?" she demanded, her voice slicing through the heavy silence. Malik was escorted out of a holding room a moment later, his hands finally free. He stood tall beside her, his expression composed despite the redness around his wrists. "I told them who I was," Malik said quietly to his mother. "They didn't believe me." Judge Thompson turned slowly to face Cole and Langley, who stood stiffly nearby, their faces pale and drawn. "Explain," she said coldly. Cole cleared his throat. "Ma'am, he fit the description of..." "Of what?" she cut in sharply. "A black boy buying a drink?" Langley tried to recover. We didn't know. You didn't care," Judge Thompson snapped. "You saw a young black man and assumed he was a criminal. You humiliated him. You arrested him. For what? Shopping at a store? For existing?" Cole opened his mouth, but no sound came out. There was no defense he could give. "Both of you," Judge Thompson said, her voice icy, "are suspended. Effective immediately. There will be a full investigation, and I will ensure that justice is served." The station was silent. Cole and Langley had no choice but to accept their fate. Justice had finally arrived for Malik. But it wasn't over yet. As they left the station, Judge Thompson and Malik were immediately met by a crowd of reporters. Microphones were thrust forward, cameras flashing in their faces. "Judge Thompson, what's going to happen now?" a reporter called out. She looked at her son, then at the crowd. "This isn't just about Malik," she said firmly. "This is about every young black person who has been harassed, humiliated, or arrested for simply existing." Malik took a deep breath. His voice was steady. "I was lucky. My mom is a judge. But what about the kids whose parents don't have power? Who fights for them?" The crowd murmured in response, heads nodding in agreement. "Change is coming," Judge Thompson declared. "And it starts now." The following day, body cam footage of Malik's arrest was released to the public. The video spread like wildfire. People watched in shock as Malik was thrown against the counter, handcuffed, and accused without evidence. Protests erupted across Brookridge City. People held signs demanding justice, calling for an end to racial profiling. Within days, Officers Cole and Langley were officially fired. The police department introduced sweeping policy changes aimed at preventing future abuses of power. Malik became a voice for change. He spoke at schools, at community centers, and on national television. His message was simple but powerful. Justice isn't a privilege. It's a right. And that day, what had started as a simple trip to the store changed everything. Not just for Malik, but for everyone